How is Jim Harbaugh, who will play in the national championship game as the head coach of Michigan against Washington, against the quarterback that I can't pronounce his name? How is he similar to Johnny Majors, or is he? This is like totally out of left field, which is why I love Caleb Calhoun. So for those of you that are too young to remember Johnny Majors, I'm giving this to Caleb. You just need to follow Jim Harbaugh's career. I mean, the only real difference is strong ties to the NFL. Other than that, it's pretty similar. What do you guys think? Let me get your thoughts. I'll start with Jim Harbaugh, incredibly difficult to deal with from an organizational standpoint.
I didn't even bring that one up.
Yeah, now he was great with the media, and I love him. He was the only guy that I called coach because I grew up at a time where he was Tennessee's coach. The whole time I was alive, basically, until I was like 18 years old. So my whole childhood. So I worked with him on a couple of different projects, called him coach all the time. So you're talking to somebody who loves Johnny Majors, but I know he was difficult to deal with some boosters and administrators. So why is he similar? Give me reason number one to why he's similar to Jim Harbaugh, and then I will give you a couple of sounders as my response. This for
Hey now,
you're on to something, or this
that's crazy.
for you're not. All right, Jim Harbaugh. Give me
All right.
reason number one.
So Jim Harbaugh, reason number one is just like Johnny Majors, was a home run hire at the time of his hire when he was hired to take over his alma mater.
That's crazy.
Nowhere close to what Johnny Majors was, because Majors had produced a Heisman Trophy champion and had won a national championship. So it was a home run hire, but that was an in the park home run. Johnny Majors was a grand slam home run.
So I'm giving you that. I am, because I do understand that. But I would also say there are a couple of differences. One, even though Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback at Michigan, Johnny Majors was way more beloved at Tennessee than Jim Harbaugh was at Michigan. I will give you that. And also, you're right. Jim Harbaugh went to Michigan after he was fired by San Francisco. Johnny Majors went to Tennessee as he was winning the national championship at Pittsburgh. I mean, those negotiations were already happening. However, and this is a big point, in terms of actual coaching prowess, I think there was more respect for Jim Harbaugh's at the time than Johnny Majors, because people saw, look at what Jim Harbaugh had done, Dave. He had gone to Stanford and rebuilt Stanford into a national power. He then went to the NFL and revitalized the organization, turned Alex Smith into a good passer, and then made the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, Joe Flacco Super Bowl, as you point out, the worst quarterback Super Bowl ever, at least in the modern day of NFL. And so Jim Harbaugh had so many successful stops everywhere. He was so clearly a home run hire on paper. But I'll give you, Johnny Majors was a bigger one because he was winning a national title in that moment.
Yes. Someone asking, what did Johnny Majors like to drink? I don't know if that's pertinent, but it may be bourbon. All right. What do you got next? What is this similarity?
Next one. Both of them had very disappointing first few years after being splash hires at their schools.
Hey now,
I'll agree, but barely. Majors wouldn't have made it through 15 years or however many years he was the head coach. He was so disappointing at times.
Yeah, there was as a matter of fact, it's very famous. The Rock outside in 1980 was painted, "We made a major mistake." 4 years in. Yes, because Majors went 4-7. Sorry, what?
No, thank God for no social media.
Oh, yeah. Well, think about it. Home run higher on paper after winning a national title. And what does he do? 4-7, 5-1, 7-5, 5-6. Those are his first 4 years at Tennessee. And then the next four, he goes 8-4, 9-3, 6-5-1, and 7-4-1, I believe. Again, better, but it's not till the 85 team that people start to really believe in Majors. And from 1977 to 1988, that's a 12-year run where Tennessee had two teams that finished in the top 25, 85 and 87. So you're right. Majors was much more underwhelming than Jim Harbaugh's, honestly.
Yeah, and that goes back to the love of the coach. Harbaugh would have already been fired if he had Majors' early run, right?
Oh, easily. At least Harbaugh had Michigan in position to compete for the playoff in 2016 and 2018. He just couldn't get past Ohio State.
Yep. Aside from the fact that there's less patience nowadays, what else you got?
All right, number 3. They got the program rolling at a high level on a consistent basis when they promoted their offensive line coach to their offensive coordinator. Johnny Majors promoted Philip Fulmer to offensive coordinator in '89, and that launched the run of the modern era of 16 straight bowl games, 4 SEC titles, national title, all top 25 finishes. Jim Harbaugh promoted Sherrod Moore to offensive coordinator in 2021, and ever since then, Michigan has beaten Ohio State 3 straight times, gone to 3 straight college football playoffs, won 3 straight Big Ten titles.
Hey now.
I can't disagree with that at all. I think that's perfect. That's good. I think it shows also a dedication to running the football, and I think Tennessee has that. They have a good coach in Glenn Ellerby, so I don't know that they're going to. Well, I don't know. Maybe people are upset still about Alex Golesh, so I don't know. Maybe
No, Glenn Ellerby's not taking Josh Heupel's job.
Not Josh Heupel's job. I'm talking about the offensive coordinator job because people are upset. They think Halsley's the part of the problem. He's not. It's Josh Heupel's offense. But if you want to go down that road, then just elevate Ellerby. Derek asks, Dave, what year was the Tennessee fans' protest on the bridge over losing? Derek, I may not be as old as I look. I don't remember that. Do you? Do you, Caleb?
I don't remember. If you don't remember it, I don't remember it.
You know history better than me sometimes. Does anybody remember that on the message board? Is it the Henley Street Bridge, I would assume, or is it that train trestle bridge that people unsafely walk across during games?
I have to pull up some old newspaper clippings of this. Are we sure this isn't an urban legend, like when Harvey Updike said that Auburn rolled Toomer's corner when Bear Bryant died? Remember when Harvey Updike just believed it?
No, but I don't know if it's an Urban Meyer legend or not.
Urban Meyer legend.
Yes, there we go. Before we get to the next one, it's brought to you by Don Self. Customer service still matters. State Farm agent Don Self in the Chattanooga area, Ooltewah, and Collegedale. DonSelf.net, right below DonSelf.net. 423-396-2126. 423-396-2126. Don and this team pride themselves on making sure you and your family are covered, especially when you file those claims. Everybody's shopping for some sort of great price, but man, when those claims come in, you want Don Self. Customer service still matters. DonSelf.net, right there. What's next, Caleb?
I'm squeezing another one in. I'm sorry, I have to.
Okay.
Another similarity between Majors and Jim Harbaugh. And you can tell me if I'm out of left field for this.
And I got I have the major difference coming up between the two.
I'm your huckleberry.
Okay. The biggest one. They got the program rolling at a high level only after a coach from a neighboring state at a powerhouse program retired. Urban Meyer leaving Ohio State and Vince Dooley leaving Georgia.
Oh, yeah. That's very good. It's very good.
Yeah. Now,
also a state that they recruit in a lot, too.
State that they recruited.
Yeah.
So Ryan Day is the new drunken Ray Goff.
I didn't cover that area, but I kind of did because I covered Pennsylvania. So a lot of the Pennsylvania guys would also be interested in Ohio State and Michigan. So I kind of knew the area better than I should have. If Michigan won, let's say 20% of the battles in Ohio, that's a big win. I would be interested to go back and see if they won 30% over the past couple of years because of Jim Harbaugh. Much like Tennessee started winning 30 or 40% of the battles they wanted to win in the Atlanta area when they were building a championship team. So that's a very, very good one. Very insightful. You only get that on Off the Hook Sports. Hit like and subscribe. He's Caleb Calhoun, the superstar. Go ahead.
All right. So the next one, and this is a big one. The offensive line coach that was promoted to offensive coordinator and took the help, and right at the same time the program was taken to the next level, stepped in for the head coach when the head coach couldn't coach some games and won every game, including big games against top 10 programs. Michigan beating Penn State and Ohio State with Sherrod Moore, and Fulmer beating Georgia and Florida in place of Johnny Majors, to the point that by the end of the year, everybody assumed that was going to be the next head coach. Everybody wanted Fulmer over Majors, and everybody's assuming Jim Harbaugh's leaving and Sherrod Moore's just going to take over anyway for Harbaugh.
That's crazy.
I don't think that's going to happen. I know you really like Moore, but I think they would do a real search. And that leads me to my point why the two are very, very different. And it's as simple as this. Majors never, ever, 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 ever wanted to leave Tennessee. He wanted that to be his destination job, retire, maybe be the next athletic director. I mean, he wanted to be in Tennessee. Jim Harbaugh looks like he's taken the first NFL charter plane out of there. He just hired Don Yee, an agent who represents, I believe, Aaron Rodgers. Jim Harbaugh is so ready to go. It's like his rear's on fire. That's the big monstrous difference between the two marriages. Majors would have done anything for the University of Tennessee. Jim Harbaugh views Michigan as a job.
He does. He does. I agree with you on that. Also, another one, Jim Harbaugh versus Johnny Majors in respect levels, because you bring it up, not just the cheating scandals with Harbaugh, but the Majors was such a good interview. He's the best interview. I was so young that I couldn't say I was there myself, but all you got to do is watch old YouTube clips. If I could ever interview anybody that was ever in sports, it'd be Johnny Majors, because he'll answer any question you ask him. Or he would have.
He will. And the Johnny Majors show was legendary. I'm sure you remember waking up and watching that thing, don't you?
Well, I don't, because again, I was 4 when Johnny Majors was forced out. But I've seen clips.
Sorry. Yeah, but he would just call players out. Like,
he would.
Bob's got to do better than that. We taught Bob all week not to do that, and he's got to be better than that. And nowadays, he's what made coaches' shows like popular. Was because of him. And nowadays, the Josh Heupel show, it's a great flowery feature on the backup long snapper. That takes up like 5 minutes of the show. It's totally useless.
And here's why that's a big deal. Because Harbaugh, as you know, is terrible with the media. He's the worst interview possible. Like, Harbaugh is like, he does not want to talk to the media at all, and you can tell. I have it on what I believe to be good authority that one of the reasons that the perception that ESPN hated Tennessee in the 90s was true. However, and you have it too, because you said that ESPN voters actively voted for Charles Woodson over Peyton Manning in 1997. My philosophy on that is that I think, because I've seen old ESPN clips, you should see Lee Corso. He trashes Tennessee after Johnny Majors is forced out. He just utterly trashes them. I believe a lot of national reporters did not like Philip Fulmer because of what happened with Johnny Majors. And I think they were out to get Fulmer because of that for a long time.
Really?
Because who's a better, if you're a reporter, Dave, who would you rather be in the press conference, Johnny Majors or Phil Fulmer?
Philip wasn't bad to work with, though.
But who's going to give you gold for a story? Who's going to give you the golden quotes? It's Majors.
Yeah, that's true. But Dooley did the same, but I'd rather cover a Lane Kiffin.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, Dooley was kind of the same, but I'd rather cover a Lane Kiffin who gave me good solvent answers and was willing to kind of guide me off the record. And in retrospect, I wouldn't have said this now, towards the truth. I mean, Derek Dooley wouldn't give out his cell phone number, which I always thought was incredibly odd.
Yes, but Kiffin would give you honest answers. Kiffin was going to give you gold in press conferences. How much gold did Kiffin give during the 1 year he was at Tennessee in those press conferences? Dooley, I know he gave good quotes a lot of times, the coaching how to shower or whatever. They were weird quotes, but the thing I would say with Dooley is, didn't he always talk to you like he was so much smarter than everybody else in the room? And it kind of rubbed you the wrong way? You covered him. Didn't that the vibe he tried to give off?
This is going to sound cocky. It didn't me because I'm pretty cocky. But, I mean, some people I'm sure did.
That's what I mean. Majors didn't talk to you like he was smarter than you. Majors it was almost like a Mike Leach thing. He's just like, I'm going to answer any question you ask me. And
Majors, it was like I bumped into the guy and he was having his whiskey sour and I was having my IPA and we're just sitting at the bar.
Yes.
Back in 1930, let me tell you about this guy. He was really good. He left after a year, just like Lane Kiffin. I don't do a good Johnny Majors impression, but he was phenomenal.
You know who was similar to Majors and who also got preferential treatment from the media? 2 other people in the 90s, Steve Spurrier and Bobby Bowden. They talked to you like you were sitting at a bar talking ball with them, didn't they?
Right. And Steve Spurrier took it to a different level. Does anybody or anyone know that he would call columnist at other papers that the schools that they were getting ready to play. Like he would call John Adams and give him a couple of quotes to get under Philip Fulmer's skin for that week. Call him up. Hey, John. Thought you might want to talk a second. Is this on the record? Certainly is. What do you want to talk about? And he'd work in the shots like you can't spell Citrus Bowl without a U and a T the week of. And to see the opposing coach show up in your paper in a column in an exclusive interview is probably a little frustrating.
Funny story about that. 2013.
Sorry, Bob and Jay. Go ahead.
2013, when Steve Spurrier, he tried to do damage control, but he accidentally kind of threw Jadeveon Clowney under the bus for his work ethic. Do you remember that, Dave, when he was in South Carolina?
I do.
And everybody went at him. Now, Jadeveon Clowney was still the number one pick. Here was what I thought at the time, and I don't know if you thought this. I never saw Spurrier for a liar. I never saw Spurrier someone who ever tried to sabotage anybody. I saw Spurrier someone who just gave his opinion. And guess what? Jadeveon Clowney was a lazy player in the NFL, wasn't he?
Yes. So how does this? Who are you?
Spurrier was never when he calls columnists and maybe give you some good quotes. He's not a liar. When he said something, it was fully honest. And same with Bobby Bowden. Bobby Bowden, whatever you think of Bobby Bowden, he wasn't a liar.
No.
I mean, neither was Mike Leach. Another one.
Who that we've discussed was a liar? Are you insinuating someone?
I think Lane Kiffin kept out details when he would speak to you, even if he gave you gold. I think Philip Fulmer kept things quiet. I think Heupel's somewhat of a liar. I do. I don't think Heupel's honest with the media a lot of times. I think Nick Saban has lied.
There's almost a different set of lying, right? Like if I say, Caleb, I'm going to come to your house and bring you $1 million, as opposed to Cooper Mays may play against Florida. We look at that as two different sets of lying, right?
Yes. Those are two totally different sets of lying. Gamesmanship. But that's the thing. The coaches were talking about Bowden, Majors, and Spurrier didn't do gamesmanship. Neither did Mike Leach. They just told you exactly what they felt in the moment. You could ask, I guarantee you, if I wanted to ask Johnny Majors about marriage advice, he would have given it to me in a press conference, right?
A question. I need to meet the missus, and I'll give you a little insight. And I'll tell you one thing. Nothing overcomes marital problems like a little Jack Daniels. Papa Jay says that Majors impression needs some work. Agreed. Majors and Spurrier sounds the same for Dave. It's true. And thank you, Charles, for saying y'all are my favorite show. We're lucky to have OTH as Tennessee fans, and we appreciate that. And this lastly, Satan lies. He definitely does. Satan lies. Are you talking about Saban? I think he does. I think he is.
But Saban's actually pretty good gold at a press conference if you ask him the right question. You just got to know what to ask him.
I just hated after that the semifinal game the other day how he just steered it into, I know you guys are going to criticize me, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. He steers press conferences too much to me. Like you could ask him about, is the sun coming up tomorrow? And it turns into, I know you all don't like me and you're questioning my play calling. It's like, what?
I wish I was asking him a question and he wouldn't me. Because I'd go right back and I'd get fired by Dave in a heartbeat for that. But that's a different story.
You wouldn't get fired by going after a coach? No.
When he went off on Malika Andrews, and I know we got to move on, but when he went off on Malika Andrews, he's like, I'm not going to do that. So quit asking. And it was about the quarterback. If I'm Malika, I'd have been like, so are you mad because you're not that good at managing quarterbacks?
Ouch. That would have been a good backup. That would have been the problem is, and that's why we do the Vol report with Cooper Mays and Jacob Warren, is you don't get to ask follow-up questions at press conference nowadays. Talk some
This
Tennessee.
was a sideline interview.
Well, but just in general. I mean, so the way they will do it, they will say, Bob, you ask a question, and then you ask a question, and during the answer, they take the mic away from you, and they give it to somebody else. They give it to Carl. So then it's Carl's turn to ask a question, and you've got no follow-up. It's why press conferences are stupid and a complete waste of time for the most part.